Okay. So also during class, be as willing to be vocal and ask questions or comments. Okay. All right. Okay. Hanging out. Weight through the feet. Breathing in. Belly expands. Breathing out. Belly empties. Consciously releasing tensions on the out breath. Relying on the skeletal alignment, the verticality of the skeleton for your support and your straightness and tallness. That's just about the bones, bone on top of bone. And let the muscles hang off the bones. So the skeletal structure is very vertical, directly aligned on top of each other. And you give all the weight over to the bones. Trust the bones to carry your entire weight. And let the muscles hang. Of course, without allowing any ensuing slumping, because you're still relying on the bones. So even as the muscles hang, like warm rubber, just hanging off, it doesn't compromise your vertical structure at all. More weight exits through the feet, even as you remain open and tall. Couple little pointers, the chin is in a little bit, or in other words, the back of the neck is pushed back, lower back is pressed back. And letting the hands come forward, palms facing the ground. Hanging from the string, releasing the body, releasing the belly. Become conscious of your palms. Become conscious of the floor or the ground. Become conscious of both the palms and the ground. Feel the connection between the palms and the ground as you hang out and breathe. Become very, very conscious of the space between the hands and the ground. Fill that space with your intention, your awareness. Noticing the connection between the ground and the palms. Then through a lengthening process, opening and lengthening, no contraction at all, opening and lengthening into the Buddha belly or the Buddha ball position. Opening the shoulder joints, wrist joints, elbow joints to get to that position. Become very conscious of the fact that your palms are facing the Dantian directly. And in fact, the Lao Gong points in each palm are facing the Dantian point directly. The Lao Gong point, center point of each palm. Dantian point, about 3 or 4 inches below the navel. So those points, those 3 points are directly lined up. Very conscious of that. being aware of the space between the palms and the dantian. Without any contraction, just an opening, lengthening to move to the standing post or standing tree position, where the palms are about sternum height or lower chest height. The wrists are virtually straight. Roundedness is from the bend in the elbows, shoulder sitting. Hang the hips, stretch the spine. The back crown of the head goes directly up to the sky as the tailbone enters the ground. Each out breath is a releasing breath. Again, see if you can find the connection between your hands and your feet. Your hands and your feet are touching each other or somehow in contact. Making an intentional line between your hands and your feet as you breathe and release. Back to sensing the ground with your palms. Elongate the spine. Hang the tailbone, float the crown, zip the shoulders, release the belly. Breathe. Sense the ground with your palms. Slowly bring your hands to the dantian. Notice the movement in the belly. Now focus the breathing in the lower abdomen. Imagine, feel as if you are isolating it to the lower abdomen. So below the belly button. Breathing in, the lower abdomen expands. Breathing out, the lower abdomen contracts a little bit. Then place the back of the other hand against the lower back so that you're expanding both ways as you breathe in. Again, below the belly button, lower abdomen. Breathing in expands back as much as it expands forward, but in the lower abdomen, lower torso. And breathing out, releases back in towards the center point of the body. Now placing the heels of your palms just above the crest of the hip bones, breathing into the lower abdomen, expanding laterally, sideways. Breathing in, breathing out, settling back in towards the center point of the body in the lower abdomen. So as best you can, isolate that to the lower abdomen. And we want to do all directions. So wherever you want to place your hands to try to help you track that. Breathing in, expanding forward, back, out to the sides. And lower abdomen. Tracing back to the center point as you breathe out. And hands in front again, keeping your attention and your breath below the navel. Having the center of one palm over the other hand, so your Lao Gong points are lined up. Now, since we're talking about getting more specific with the alignment here, then I'll also talk about hand position. Some people will say left hand goes in on top first, right hand on top. Some will say guys, males, do it that way. Females do the right hand first, left hand on top. And again, some will say it's always left hand first, right hand on top. And still others, and I'm in the later school of thought, the latter school of thought, that it's good to change it so you don't get stuck in a pattern. So that's the way, that's my approach. I don't like to get stuck in a pattern. Also, if one way feels better than the other, it doesn't mean that's the way you should do it. That means you just may be stuck in a pattern. So it's not just because one feels better than the other. The way I approach it, you want the energy to be plastic, flexible. So even if one way feels better than the other, for me, that's a reason to often go the other direction, the other way. So you can pick whichever you want for now, but one Laogong over the other one, and those Laogong points are right over the Dantian point, which is about 3 or 4 finger widths below the lower edge of the belly button. Laogong point on top, other Laogong point on top. Hang out, weight through the feet, breathe into the lower abdomen. Very slowly, start with small circles, palms circling over the Dantian, slow and small circles. Gradually making larger circles. Each circle gets slightly larger. As you hang out, breathe into the abdomen, weight through the feet. Gradually expanding circles until eventually you're circling the entire abdomen from the pubic bone up to the sternum. Nice, slow, generous circles. And once you've done a few circles of maximum movement, slowly stop and gently start in the other direction, large circles in the other direction. Gradually getting smaller with those circles as you hang out and breathe into the lower abdomen. Each circle slightly smaller than the last. Until you're eventually circling small just below the navel again, around the Dantian point. Gradually, slowly coming to a stop right over the Dantian. Resting there, hanging out, breathing into the lower abdomen. Each out breath is a releasing breath, allowing more weight to exit through the legs and feet. Knees bent, gentle hip circles. Notice your knees and your hips. If it feels comfortable, a little bigger circles. Again, keeping those knees bent and bent in the hips a little bit. And slowly coming back to centered stillness. Send your intention the other way. Let the hips follow. Gradually, each circle a little bit bigger. Breathe. Gradually smaller circles until you're back to centered stillness. Hanging out, weight through the feet. Breath in the belly. Now, smaller hip circles, it's just your tailbone. So imagine and feel that you're isolating it to tailbone circles. So it's just your tailbone moving. So you're drawing a circle on the floor with your tailbone. You're not trying to move the hips. Your hips will move, of course, but you're just having the intention to circle the tailbone specifically. Remind yourself to breathe. Slowly come back to centered stillness. When you're ready, send the tailbone the other direction. Drawing a circle around your feet with your tailbone. And slowly smaller circles hanging into stillness. Weight through the feet. And in a moment, when you're ready, you'll release your hands, you'll let them fall from the dantian and allow them just to swing with that natural momentum and gravity, just slightly in front of the belly. Just initiated by a totally natural dropping of the hands. And just allow that to continue, letting the weight of the arms and hands pull the shoulder joints open, letting the weight of the hands and fingers pull the wrist joints open. Every once in a while, you let your hands finish by dropping to the sides of the hips. And then just stay with that for a moment, noticing, experiencing the weight, gravity working through the arms, hands, and fingers. And then after a few moments of that, gently get the arms started again, swinging slightly in front of the body, giving the arms and hands over completely to gravity. Release the abdomen. Lower back is flat. And whenever you want on your own timing, you do an arm drop, having them stop by the hips. And just notice the sensation of gravity. And just letting your arms agree with gravity. And then starting again. See if you can really release those elbows. It's like one of those string puppets or marionettes where you just have space between the bones and little strings. So you're that loose in the shoulders, elbows, wrists. And every once in a while, I just let them come to a stop. Be with gravity for a moment. Notice the sensation of gravity. And then gently start again. Every once in a while, take a deep, exaggerated breath in and out. And then we're going to add a turn. The arms cross in front. Make sure the knees are bent. Turning a little bit. So one arm swings in front, while the other arm swings behind. Again, release those shoulders. Let the elbows become completely loose and free. And every once in a while, complete total drop. And just be with the sensation of that release. And then starting again. Through intention and willingness, releasing the joints, shoulders, elbows, wrists, even fingers. How loose can you let the arms be? How free can you let the elbows be? How much can you totally give yourself over to gravity without collapsing? Every once in a while, it's good to take an extra deep breath in and out to release any accumulated tension. Be with gravity for a moment after the drop. Start very gently. Make sure those knees are nicely bent. And then whenever you want the next drop, we'll just really just hang out there for a moment. Feel gravity working through the arms, hands. Feel gravity working through the legs and feet. Spine is long and open. Breath is in the belly. Okay, now spine waves. You bend the knees a little bit, bend the hips a little bit, so that your butt is back a little bit. And then you imagine someone's pulling your tailbone in front, curving your back, sending each vertebrae back behind you one at a time, causing a wave through the spine. One vertebrae at a time falls back till it comes to the vertebrae of the neck and through the top of the head. Then you sit back again, roll the tailbone forward, and see if you can articulate each vertebrae falling back, rolling back, rolling back, rolling back. And the next vertebrae on top rolls back, next vertebrae above rolls back, next bone above rolls back. Right through the vertebrae of the neck, right out through the top of the head. So doing that to start with very, very slow. So again, the hips move back a bit and then rolling the tailbone forward. Notice if you're tightening the breath or belly, release and breathe. Nice, good breathing. Rolling, articulating the spine. One bone at a time, as best you can. Letting vertebrae fall back, and then the one above it, then the one above it. Breathe. And then if you want, you can do a few of those spinal waves a little bit swifter. Less concentrated with the mind. And allowing just a little bit more free rolling as best as you can. Sending that wave or allowing that wave to propagate up through the spine. One bone at a time, ultimately out through the top of the head. Okay. Hang out and breathe. Maybe recenter. Come back to the bowl of the hips, the mind and breath. And now we do the spinal wave sideways. So the tailbone goes to one side, then the next vertebrae, then the next vertebrae, then the next vertebrae, slowly propagating through the spine. Breathe. Then when you're ready, come back to center, send the tailbone the other way. then next vertebrae, next vertebrae. Takes a lot of concentration when you're doing it slow. Notice your breathing. Make sure your knees are bent a little bit and your lower back is flat. You can continue with that pace, or if you want, you can let it go a little bit more freely, a little bit more at a swifter pace. Like seaweed, the bottom of the ocean or bottom of the lake, swaying, undulating, side to side, starting with the tailbone, ending with the vertebrae of the neck. Breathe. You'll probably find one side is easier than the other. And coming back to centered hanging stillness, centering breath and mind below the navel. Gently rock out. And a bow stance. The weight's on the back leg. Check your knees that they're open away from each other over the respective foot. Holding the ball, so the leg that you're on, that hand is on top of the ball. Hang out, sit the shoulders, release the abdomen, flatten the lower back, straighten the back of the neck. Shift the weight forward, turn the hips for serving T or parting horse's mane. Press the weight down the front leg, descend the hip back. Press the weight, press the foot down the back leg into the ground to turn the hip forward. Arms basically don't change. Arms don't change. They don't change their shape. The arms don't really move. It's the body that's moving and the central line that's turning. Arms are virtually not moving. Shifting the weight, turning the hips. Release the shoulders, release the abdomen. Sit into the back hip. Press the foot into the ground. Send you forward and turn the hip. Sit into the front hip. Push the front foot into the ground to send the back hip back. Releasing the shoulders. As you come back, make sure the front knee doesn't turn in, collapse in, that you don't turn on the inside of the instep of the foot. Stay flat with the foot, knee pointing straight forward. If that's difficult, take a more narrow stance. The wider your stance is, the more flexibility and range of motion is required in the hips. Smooth and flowing, hanging out, releasing the abdomen, weight through the feet. Try to remember how soft your arms were when we were doing the arm swings and arm drops. And don't forget that quality and that feeling. What can tend to happen is we get a little tight or stiff, especially when I say the arms don't move and you see a shape here. We might be holding that shape, and that's tension. The arms are just as soft as they were with those arm swings. The only reason why the arms have a shape is because of intention flowing outward. So it's not a matter of holding the shape. And again, that's tightness. It's rigid. It's just that you have intentional vectors flowing out through the arms. That creates the shape of the arms. And you don't have to move the arms, you're just moving your hips and your body. And if you haven't, feel free to switch sides. And maybe I'll do the other side facing this way. Once you get into the shape and the movement, you maybe bring in the aspect and quality of the last couple classes, which was continuity, continuousness. So maybe bring that quality into it. When you're all the way back, the intention is already moving forward. When you're all the way forward, the intention is already moving back. So the body is always being pulled, again, just like that seaweed in the water. The seaweed is never, ever, ever stopped or still. The movement might be very subtle, but the seaweed is always having some sort of movement because the water around it is always some sort of movement. So when you're fully forward and the hips are square, you're already pressing down the front foot to send the hip back. And that drags the body and the arms with it. So hanging out, weight through the feet, release the abdomen. The intention is continually leading the body. When you're fully back, you've already tended forward. Sit into the hip and send the intention back. Release the shoulders. Part of the openness, expansiveness, and the released arms and shoulders means that the elbows are in front of the body, away from the body, not in close. In close means tight. Open out. So I'm not in here. I'm not in here. I'm out here. Let the belly expand. Let your breath fill the abdomen till the belly expands. Even the lower back expands. Okay. And then we can go back and forth with this move. So maybe we'll start the same way so that you can be guided through the transition to the other direction. So if we have the right leg forward, coming forward into the right leg. As we shift the weight back and turn on the right heel, right hand turns palm down on top. Left hand turns palm up. I shift the weight back to the right leg and step with the right heel into that front bow stance. And then I'm doing parting horse's mane on the other side, facing the other direction. If you haven't quite got to the corner or the 45 degrees with your right foot, your back foot, then you would turn on the heel to get that back foot to the 45. Going back the other way. So right now the weight's in the left leg, front leg. I press down, release down to send the weight back to the right leg. I turn on the left heel. Left hand stays on top, but turns palm down. Right hand turns palm up at the bottom. Shift the weight back and sit into the left hip. And step with the right heel. If you need to, you turn on the back heel to get your 45 degrees. Take your time to very mindfully do the weight shifting and transitions. In other words, don't just come up to hold the ball. Don't come up to make an adjustment. Hang out, weight through the feet, expansive energy. You will be transporting yourself in one direction. So after a few, you might want to come back to where you started because you will end up traveling in one direction. When you shift the weight back, turning on the front heel, shift the weight back. Watch out, as always, watch out for any leaning back. Watch out for any leaning back here. You sit into that hip, keep you more straight. So here, you're sitting to the hip rather than leaning back. Sitting into the hip. Okay. If there aren't any questions with that, we'll do a similar process with brush knees. So almost pretty much any move, we can isolate that move and do it over and over again, either in the same direction or alternating direction. So that's really good if you have a very small space or you just simply have a small amount of time and want to do kind of micro Tai Chi, isolating it to one move. And you still can be very flowing, work on continuity, and work on all the Tai Chi principles and aspects. So brush knee, so maybe if I start facing away from you, so we're all facing the same direction. Brush knee. I'm going to shift the weight back, drop the forward hand, the back leg hand. I'm going to drop it down and back. And my front hand or my right hand, the fingertips are pointing towards the left elbow. Then I shift the weight forward and square the hips. Hips are square. Shift the weight back, open the hips. Forward hand drops down. The hand that was by the hip comes up in an arc, in a circle, to point to the left elbow, the back elbow. Hang out, breathe into the belly. So that forward hand drops down, low hand swoops up, ends up palm down, fingers pointing to the back elbow. Just a quick note, when you come forward, watch that you're not rolling the arch in and thus the knee as well. So that back foot stays completely flat, a little hollow in the arch actually. And I'll keep the knee from collapsing in. And the other side, if you haven't already. So a brush knee position. That forward hand, as I shift the weight back and turn the hips open, that forward hand drops down, swoops down. The hand that was by the knee, palm up, swooping up. The point at that back elbow. Hang out, release the belly. Release those shoulders. How much or how well can you just hang out from the string, give the weight over to the legs and hips, allowing that continuity. And remembering the quality and feeling in the arms, like from those arm drops and arm swings. Very, very loose arms. It's just movements coming from the legs and hips. Completely release those shoulders and elbows. Okay. Are you ready for brushed knees going forward and back? We tried this a while back, and it proved to be quite a mental puzzle, right? Tickles the brain. But I can sense that you're ready for it. Try it again. Okay, I can feel the optimism in the air. Okay, so here, the bottom arm goes up, top arm goes down. So I shift the weight back and turn on the left heel, or turn on the front heel. So the weight's going into the back leg. This is just like fan through back at the beginning of fan through back. But in fan through back, this top hand goes back again, correct? Well, instead of this top hand going back like it does in fan through back, it continues in the circle that it started. Simple as that. Bottom hand goes up, top hand goes down. Bottom hand comes up, shift the weight back, turn on the heel, and continues going in that big arc. The top hand goes up, and then it turns palm up. Once you do have a sense of this move, it's really quite pleasant. There's a nice big arm circles, feels very open and freeing, very, very flowing. It's quite a nice flowing feeling to it. Once the body knows it. Feel free to suggest I face a certain direction if a different direction is going to help you. Remember to breathe, especially as the frustration level might kick in. Remind yourself to release the abdomen and breathe. Sit into that back hip rather than leaning back. Okay, let's do one more movement in isolation to really focus on one move. So be parallel, shoulder width or slightly more, cloud hands. So hanging from the string, we'll just do some, just stationary here for a moment, making those knees repel away from each other. So directly over each foot. Hang from the string, tailbone pointing towards the ground, shoulders sitting, the back top of the crown flowing directly up to the sky. Release the shoulders. And then we add a little bit of footwork to this. You step out, step in, step out. So we just step twice. In one direction, step in. Then we keep flowing the arms until we're ready to step in the other direction. So here, you step twice this direction. Flow the arms until we're set up for the step in the other direction. Now, the value in doing these types of moves in an isolated fashion like this, I just do 2 steps one way, 2 steps the other. You could do more than that. You could do 1 step. You could do 3 steps, 4 steps, 5 steps. But having it relatively focused and isolated like this really allows you to settle into the move and allows your body to eventually change and open and release, and find a flow by just repeating a move or 2 over and over. Be able to sink deeper and deeper into the move, into the experience of that flow, experience of the chi. The body gets a chance to really get to know the move and then really release and open. And so a few minutes of doing a move like this, you can really go deeper into the move itself and the Tai Chi experience. And it literally can take 5, 7 minutes, and then you kind of click into a deeper quality, deeper zone. Release the abdomen. Spine is long and open. Nothing in the shoulders. Release, release, release. So again, a relatively simple move that you're doing over and over, even just mechanically, can really work on the knee alignment, lower back, all those types of things. Releasing the abdomen, shoulder joints, fill out the lower back, back of the neck. Let your weight enter into the ground through that hip, leg, and foot. Okay. Slowly winding down. Hang out. Allow your breath to sink, settle, and concentrate into the lower abdomen. Breathing into the bowl of the hips, including into the back, below the navel. Breathe in, down into the lower abdomen. Breathe out from the lower abdomen. Each time you breathe out, release the hip joints, allow the weight to exit through the legs and feet freely. Open the back of the neck, lower back. And in the next moment or two, you release the arms and hands, you let them drop. Let gravity and momentum work, and just be with gravity and momentum, not stopping the arms at all, just being with the process of gravity naturally, gradually, bringing your arms to centered stillness. Not rushing that process, being with that process fully, completely. Mindful of your body being open, structurally open, spacious. allowing the weight to exit through the legs and feet. Belly soft and released. Feel your fingertips. Feel your feet enter the ground. Feel the openness and length of the spine. And gently rock out. Okay. Thank you very much, everyone.